I think on a JJ show you have to just assume that you're not going to know much until you know it, and the building mystery is part of the fun of playing the character. But honestly, on our show, it's not so much. It's not like a deeply mythology-based show like Lost, which is probably the most complex show on television right now. Our show, because every week has its own investigation and every week sort of unravels a particular idea, there's never really that deep, like if you haven't watched the 4th episode of the 2nd season, you're not going to get the reference that we have in the 15th episode of the 6th season. Fringe is much more about investigating the thing that's happening in the meantime, and then if you want to pay attention like week after week after week, it's less about the mystery and it's much more about the characters. You get to know the personal dynamics between, I mean, for myself, you get to know how Peter and Walter are sort of figuring out how to be a father and son together.
I feel like the show is developing. It's in some ways, it's just now really kind of finding itself. So, and which is something that's also true for me on Lost. I think is true to a certain extent, although a lesser extent because I'm a regular on this. A lot of stuff I don't know or I'm not going to know until I read it, or unless I have questions about it, something which I need answered in order to play something.
I think it's a bit cheap, really. If you just, you know, you make the leading man and the leading lady sort of immediately go after each other. And for Olivia's character, she's had this, whatever you want to call it, a relic, this apparition, living embodiment of her lover, her supposed to be husband. And I think it's honest that she has to deal with that and that she has to take care of that. And I'm glad that the show has gone much more towards building the team rather than sort of making some sort of BS, oh my God, are they going to kiss and they're not going to kiss? You know, this is Fringe. It's like, it's not that kind of show.
Well, in terms of Broyles' reaction to kind of the crazy things that he sees, I think there's 2 things about that. I know that sometimes it seems like he's not really affected by things, but first of all, I think anyone who's in a command position, who's good at it, has to a certain extent, be someone who this may sound like a funny way to put it, but holds a space of calm and certainty, no matter what he's got going on inside. And that doesn't mean that he's not freaked out by stuff, because I think he is. On the other hand, you also have to take into account that, you know, when the show started, Broyles was already dealing with this stuff. So I don't want to say it's kind of like Captain Kirk, and you know, you're just used to seeing all kinds of weird stuff. But to a certain extent, he is, and he's more acclimated to it.
It's what's so great about JJ, and not just JJ, but the group of people that he has around him. When he makes a show, when he creates something, whether it be Cloverfield, whether it be Star Trek, which I haven't seen, but I'm sure is going to kick ass, whether it is Lost or our show, he, you know, in his way, he says to the audience, just trust me. I promise you, there's cool stuff coming down. It might not come down right now. You know, I'm not going to give it to you right now. But if you're willing to watch and pay attention to the fact that he's in a German prison, and the latitude of that prison is very important, because in 4 episodes, when he teleports out of the prison, he's going to have to appear somewhere on the same latitudinal line halfway across the world. That's cool stuff. That's the stuff that makes me sort of geek out and love my show.